So here am I floating in my tin can, far above the world. The planet Earth is blue and there's nothing I can do. Hey YouTube, what's up? John Michael Swift for TakeLessons.com, and today we are doing a special tribute lesson to the guitar style of David Bowie. We're going to be doing the song Space Oddity, and we're really going to be emphasizing the special guitar techniques that David Bowie used when he played acoustic songs. If you need to find your way around this lesson, there's a lesson navigator in the description box below. It has timestamps to get you to the different parts of the lesson. It also has a link to additional lesson notes like tabs and extra tips and tricks on the Take Lessons blog. TakeLessons.com is also a really good place to find a one-on-one teacher if you want someone to help you along with this, so be sure to check that out too. And yeah, I think with that, we're ready to go into it. So the essence of what I'm going to focus on in this video is the left-hand voicings of the chords. Because if you look at a chord chart, you might think, that the song is played a very different way than David actually does it. But he has a lot of subtle differences that make it easier to play in the left hand and thus easier to sing. And also that give it a lot of power. So the kind of voicings he uses are really special. So pay special attention to that as we go through this. The song starts out with this kind of funny F major 7 with an E in the bass. So you basically point your finger first fret of the B, middle finger, second fret of the G, pinky, third fret of the D, ring finger, third fret of the A string. But you leave both the outer E strings open. It's a little unusual, but if you don't make it too bass heavy, if you don't go too much like on those strings, it should be fine. Then you go to E minor. One more time for the intro. F major 7, with the E in the bass. Then E minor. Then you're going to use a C with the G in the bass, which is very similar. If this is the F voicing we were using, you just take these 3 fingers, ring, middle, pinky, and you move them over one string to this C with the G in the bass. Ground control to major tom, E minor. And I'm leaving the middle finger down. It's like a pivot note. Ground control to major tom, pivoting around the middle finger. Then I go to A minor. Take your protein pills. Now notice how I voice this so I can get this pinky down here to the G string. I gotta turn my hand a bit, but And put your helmet on. And then the last chord in that walk down is a D with an F sharp in the bass. He usually uses his thumb to get this chord. So the whole walk down, you have this open A, this G right here, and then this F sharp right there. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Then he repeats all of that from the C. Ground control to major tom. Commencing countdown, engines on. A minor. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. Then you do something fancy for the blast off sequence, or you can just jump straight to back to C with the G in the bass. This is major tom to ground control. So C with G in the bass, regular old E major chord. You've really made the grade. Now whenever he does these F chords, he does them a little differently. He usually uses the thumb to reach around here. Same kind of middle strings you had, but he'll also sometimes put this pointer finger down here to kind of get that F there. It's a tricky voicing to get, and you don't have to necessarily get the outer strings. The inner strings are really important. You got to get the inner 4 and at least mute the outside strings. But you can also get that top string or that bottom string if you're able. So he's got, this is ground control to major tom. You've really made the... Now we're on this F we talked about. I guess as the papers... And the papers want to know... It becomes F minor. The middle finger that was on this A right here comes down. And then this note that was barring just these two is now barring 3 strings. And that makes it F minor. So you go from this to the middle finger goes up. Yep. So it goes going from the F. And the F minor, 1, 2, C with the G on the bass again. You wear. Holds this F for a bit. Now it's F minor to C with G in the bass. If you F. So you see it kind of does that sort of line with the F minor twice. Then it's going to repeat everything again from C with the G and the bass. So here's a summary of how kind of this pre-chorus section goes. It starts with C is major, tom to ground, E major, I'm stepping through the F, and I'm F minor in a C with the G and the bass kind of way. F again, repeat the F minor line, and the stars look very C with G today. Now we're in the chorus, and this is a little different. Keep the thumb down here, but you want to lift up the pointer finger so you have sort of a, this goes from being like this to being arched like this, so your open E string, you can play it open and get an F major 7. And you got the thumb around there. It's a bit of a tricky voicing, but really try to focus on the arch of these fingers so you can get that open E string. If you have to, just kind of mute the low E string, but you really want to hear that high E up there if you can. Because he's going, for here am I floating in my tin can. And he's just taking that voicing and sliding it up 2 frets. And leave the E open because this is a G6 chord. You know, some people hear it as an E minor chord, but it's really a G6 because he's taking the F here and moving up to a G. And he just does that twice. He goes, far above the world. That F and that G again. And then he's going to take the same shape and just kind of move it around a bunch. Up to the 6th fret for this B flat. Planet Earth is blue. When he moves it down to 5, it's a minor shape again. So the same way we had kind of this F minor from the F, we're going to get, instead of an A major, we're going to get an A minor. He goes, planet Earth is blue. And there's down to the G on the 3rd fret again. I can do down to the F again. And for all these upper chords, you probably want to mute the E string, but when you get down to this G and this F again, you can leave the E string open again. But for this B flat, you definitely do not want to hear, you don't want to hear the E string, so you want to kind of mute it a bit. Just lean this finger down a little bit. Pointer finger just kind of closes like that a bit. And there's nothing I can do. And now for the post-chorus sequence, he goes up to the 8th fret with the same shape, you know, and it's a C way up here. You know, sometimes I'll try to focus on the treble strings for this, so I'll kind of lean this finger down for this. But if you can get it all, that's very good. So, so he goes 8th fret, 1st fret for F, 3rd fret for G, and then he leaves it in this voicing and does A major on the 5th fret. So he goes 8, 1, 3, 5, 5, 8, 1, 3, 5, 5, just with that same voicing moving around. So that's the little post-chorus thing, and then it's the solo. The solo takes the same shape again, but it just moves it up the neck. So it's going to start here in the 1st fret with the F major 7. It's going to go up to the 2nd fret for G. It's going to go up 2 more frets for A. We've kind of been here before. And it's going to go up 3 frets now, back to 8 for C. We've also been here. Now it's going to go somewhere new. It's going to go up 2 more frets. That's going to be D up here. And the next chord's an E. You'd think it could go 2 frets more for an E. But you see, like for me, you see the little, you know, the neck of my guitar is ending here. And I usually can't get my thumb to like reach up. It has to like angle up to get there. And apparently David Bowie has the same problem because he always plays this E way down here in the open position. He'll be way up here. He'll be like ready to go for that E, and he'll go down. Wah, he'll go right back down to that open position E. So that's the guitar solo, and then he goes kind of back to the pre-chorus again. Everything we kind of did already. You know, back to C with the G and the bass. For the last 100,000 miles, E again, I'm feeling very still. Same F we've been through. And I, F minor, my ship, C with the G, ways to go. Tell my wife I love her very much, she knows. Now, this is the bridge. It's a little bit different. It shifts up to this G again on the 2nd fret. Ground control to major tom. This is a funny chord right here. This is sort of like an inverted E7 chord. But the way you get to it is you start with this G that we're on here. The only thing you really have to do is take your pinky and move it up 1 fret. So from 5th fret on the D string up to 6th fret on the D string. And you can leave the open E string for this if you want to, or you can leave it down and mute it. But you don't want to have the pointer finger over here on the 3rd fret, so don't do that. Or that'll do. And also, you can have your thumb move up from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret, because that's a G sharp too, so you can kind of voice it with the thumb down there like this, and play all 6 strings. Which you can do, but at the minimum, you can also just go, on these 4 notes in the middle, and just move the pinky up and kind of mute the outside strings. That's okay too. Thought that merited some attention, because that's a bit of a tricky voicing. So he's going, from the G, ground control to the C7 thing. Your A minor circuit's dead. There's C with a G. Can you D7? Goes to D7. Can you hear me, Major Tom? To C with the G. Can you hear me, Major Tom? And now he does a regular old kind of open G voicing. Can you hear me, Major Tom? And as he's going back to floating in the tin can, he does 2 different chords. Sometimes he does the F major 7, and sometimes he does E major here. I saw a live version where he would go, he'd go from the G. Can you hear me, Major Tom? He goes to E major. Can you hear? And I'm floating in a tin can. And it's exactly the same from the G6. Far above the world. Same planet Earth. Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do. And then he's going to do the post-chorus sequence one more time. And in a lot of versions, that's kind of where he ends it. He goes, C, F, G, A, A. One more time. It's 8th fret, 1st fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret. And then I've also seen some versions where he'll do kind of a guitar solo at the end. He'll do the F major 7, up to the G, up to the A, 5th fret, up to the 8th fret for the C, do the E, and then he ends the song on this E major chord right there. So, I think those were the big keys that I discovered as I watched a bunch of live versions of how you do, all the voicings the way David does them. I feel what's really cool about it is, you get this really fat, feeling of you can kind of strum all the strings the whole time in a very rock sort of way, but you still really get, you can still be played very easily. You don't have to think about a bunch of really complex chord changes. You can focus on the singing, which is really, really nice. So, I hope this is helpful to you guys, and, have fun celebrating David's life.